Hey, my name is Beb. Welcome back to this nightmare torture that I'm putting myself through mostly for my own entertainment and maybe some other people's. I'm not going to explain the gimmick every time. It seems kind of dumb and redundant. I made one video on this already. If you don't understand what's going on, I literally don't understand how you got here. That does not mean I want to talk about the first game I had to play this month, which was Tomb Raider 1. I don't have any nostalgia for these games, which it turns out was a problem, because this is one of the least playable games I've touched in the past 5 or 6 years. Irredeemable dog shit. An action platformer where both the platforming and the action feel like they're not taking place in the same reality that you exist in. The camera is smoking crack on another planet, so who fucking knows if it's even gonna be helpful. And most of the time, you only know if there's an enemy coming because they're currently killing you, your Lara Croft weirdly snaps to them, or you're desperately trying to figure out how to dodge effectively while they're mauling you to death. I didn't talk about the fact that I had to get a fan patch to get Deus Ex to look decent and work the way that I wanted it to. And I'll probably have to do that for a lot of these older games just because that's how it is. But for this game in particular, it felt like a smack in the fucking teeth, because before, I'm like, the keyboard controls suck ass, and everything's stiff and slow and awful, but now that I have things working the way that they're supposed to, it turns out the stiff, slow, and awful part was just part of the way the fucking game is designed. Look, I like me a platformer. I like me a Spyro the Dragon. I like me a Crash Bandicoot, but this is impressive in how awful it feels at every second. And on top of that, I barely fucking know what's going on. Lara Croft is doing stuff, and most of the plot happens near the end of the game. It's insane. I'm not even going to go into it because, as it turns out, not even that helps me get on board, at all. I'm not asking for, Obsidian level writing here. I'm not asking for Fallout New Vegas in this titty adventure game. But what I need is either something to give a shit about or a game to enjoy, and what I've been given is neither. It should be at least a fun romp, but most of the time, what you spend doing in Tomb Raider is slowly lining up jumps and praying to God that it works. Because half the time, it doesn't. In the console versions, there were save crystals, so you could use them, they were expendable, but the PC port doesn't have that. It has saves, whatever you want, which means instead of this being a tight challenge of my execution and my understanding of the mechanics, Crash Bandicoot Slippery Climb, great example, incredibly difficult level, and to get the time trial on it, you have to do it in one shot. It's the longest level in the Insane trilogy, it's hard, but it feels so gratifying when you nail all the tricks. Whereas with the ability to save at basically any time, you're never incentivized to not do that. There's no punishment for it. There's no reason not to. And the thing is, with how jank and shitty 90% of the jumps are, you want to. I think I had 300 fucking saves by the end of this game. And the biggest issue, because you're oh, isn't that an upside? Because it means you don't have to do parts of the level that suck. No, because all of it sucks. All of the level is bad. And the idea that I don't actually have to do a jump more than once successfully, most of the time, means that this is no longer a test of my execution or my skill. It is a test of my patience. It is a plotting, beating inevitability on the back of my skull because I know I can win. I know it's possible, but I just have to endure playing this fucking trash fire for 5 minutes longer. And the boss fights aren't any fucking better. There's no redemption there. Lara Croft has no melee combat, which, who gives a shit, whatever. But the problem is, the shooting is also out of your hands. It's auto-aim based on a cone of what you can see, and where she looks and where the camera is aren't always the same. They are frequently not the same. Dudes with guns shoot you immediately. And they open fire sometimes before you can see them, and they're spamming you the whole time. And once you turn and slowly lock onto them, because you control a fucking bus, you open fire, and at this point, it is no longer who is going to win this fight? How do I, dodge out of the way? You stand there, you plant your fucking feet, and you eat painkillers like you've got a dead family. You just fucking stand there and bullet hose them as they bullet holes you, and it's a battle of attrition every fucking time. I don't have a ton of footage of when I played this, for a few reasons. One, I was lazy, and the biggest reason, because playing it is the worst thing you can do. If you have nostalgia for this game, I feel for you. There's also games I have nostalgia for that maybe don't hold up, and that's fine. The problem is, this game is terrible. And as it turns out, 10 games on my list are Tomb Raider of the 26. And looking at that number, after playing this unmitigated head trauma, is the most ominous sign that it could have given me. I fought a bitch in Atlantis, and I barely gave a shit. I was so ready for this to be over. I had to drag myself through the end of this game. Cry because it's over, and because it happened. Because it was bad. Please, God, let the wheel spare my fucking life. I'm just praying to God it's not fucking Tomb Raider again, please.
Okay. Star Wars?
Wait, oh no, I have to re-roll it. Tomb Raider wasn't on the list.
No.
No! Fuck!
Okay, try it again. Okay.
Alright. Oh my god, okay, Tomb Raider. Alright. What are the odds, right?
No, don't say that. Why would you say that? I'm so nervous for you.
Okay.
I know. Okay.
Easy clap.
Oh.
Alright.
Moon Ring. Okay.
Moon Ring. Cool.
Oh,
I
Fun
don't
loves
know
this
what Moon
game.
Ring is. Okay, so Moon Ring is definitely better than Tomb Raider. I have firmly planted the bar in hell, but there's a lot of things about this game I like. It's got an old school aesthetic. I love the color. I love the way that the world feels just the right size for the story that it wants to do. It's a very standard old school RPG. General shtick is you do the fucking big quest, but instead of getting the 4 elemental things, which is pretty common in standard RPGs, it's to get the god artifacts. There's a lot of places where it really shines, because early on I realized that talking to people was so fucking cool. Now, this is going to seem really minor and dumb and arbitrary and fucking whatever, call me cringe, but the idea of approaching someone, you talk to them, and they give you topics that they want to talk about, and you can type it in. The tactile thing of doing it is sick. It makes you feel more involved in a conversation as opposed to just clicking through a menu, which is kind of what you're doing, but you can also just ignore threads you don't care about, which is nice. But the thing this really opens up to is you can ask people about things that aren't on their list. And that is fucking cool. Doing that and liking doing that made me chase down the kind of side plot for the game, the big one, because instead of chasing the god artifacts, you find out that there was actually a conspiracy against the gods. And I was really interested in that. So I went through all the steps to chase that down. And I get to the door to the final dungeon. Doesn't open. And I go, what the fuck? Why isn't it open? And there's a reason for that. Because to do the alternate ending that I was chasing, apparently, you also have to play the rest of the fucking game. It's not a turn-based RPG. It's not quite an action RPG either. It's kind of somewhere in between, where you make a move and then the enemies interact with their own moves. They can attack you, they can run, they can cast spells that you can dodge. And there's something about it that feels both comfortable and frenetic, which I really enjoyed. I like fighting in this fucking game, even though sometimes it's... you make 2 wrong steps and you're dead. But the problem is, now that I have to play the rest of the game, I have to challenge what are called the relic dungeons. And these fuckers are backbreaking. The problem with them is, they're long as shit. They are 7 floors, the 7th floor is a boss floor, so really it's 6 floors of dungeon. Because there's a level of verticality to it, you can be pushed into holes. Holes are the bane of my fucking existence because they can instantly kill you if you're even mildly out of position. It's really rough because when you die, you don't get any checkpoints, you have to go all the way back and do it again. And even when you get to the boss, at the very bottom of the fucking dungeon, a lot of them are gimmick bosses. So if you're not paying attention, or if you make one error at exactly the wrong time, you're dead, and you have to do the whole dungeon again. And that was really frustrating, and actually broke the build I was going for. I personally prayed to the Jester God. As you can probably see, I made a little tiny clown man, and I had fun. So, doing that, I tried to initially build something a little stealthier, ambushing people, not making a lot of noise, as I am wont to do. The issue with that is that after a while, that is just the worst way to play the game. If you don't have a good amount of armor and defense, once you get into a fight, you just get killed. And that is really hard when getting killed potentially eats an hour of my time. A thing that I think is underrated of an insanity driver is that they're randomized dungeons, so they're not the same. So you do them over and over and over because you keep dying. You don't remember what resources you expended. So I'll go in, I'll be like, oh, I have these flasks of water to put myself out. I get set on fire, I pull it out, turns out I did that 2 runs ago. So now I don't have shit and I'm dead again. And that was just a level of the difficulty that I had to adjust to. Later on, when I came in with better equipment and more patience, I did a lot better, but it did have a lot of frustrating parts where I couldn't actually play the game that I wanted to. There was a best way to play. So praying to a god gave you half price on their god powers. You could technically run any powers you want, but realistically, if you can get them for half price, you're going to use them more. This, unfortunately, means that because I wanted to be funny clown god, I lobotomized myself. Because I got a skill that was so good, that was so strong, that was so insane, I never had a reason to use anything else. Because for 5 actions, it gave me auto dodge and auto crit on my melee attacks, and honestly, how the fuck do you pass that up? And I didn't. So it made me dumb. Because I found I'm like, oh, if I'm just a coward until my bonkomatic is back, I can just do that. And that's fine. I'm like 99% sure I got this game for free anyway, so it's hard for me to bitch and be like, oh, why doesn't it have the fucking depth of whatever? I'm being an asshole, I realize that. But it does drag the game down for me a bit, because I wish the combat felt as satisfying as talking to people. You know? Like, it's better than Tomb Raider, that's for damn sure. If you like old school RPGs and you deal with like the hunger mechanics and the planning ahead, it doesn't really have jank. It works exactly as it's intended to. It's just got lots of interesting ways that it expresses difficulty. And that sounds fun. Maybe give this guy a shot. Also, it looks so fucking slick. I love this game, despite my kind of other issues with some of the things. Okay, so I started in the fucking pits of hell, and I have risen to at least ground level. What do we got next?
Wheel.
Tomb
Raider.
Wheel.
Thief game!
Thief.
This is kind of funny. I have the same history with Thief as I did with Deus Ex, which is I installed it like 5 times, tried to play it, got frustrated, and uninstalled it. Part of it is because I don't know who mapped the initial controls, but I want to hit them with a brick. It's utterly insane. Okay, just for context, WASD mapped in the base game. W is run forward, okay. S is walk forward, a little less sensical. A and D are turn left and right. Not strafe left and right, turn. So, after flashing back temporarily to Lara Croft hand controls, I eventually hacked together a pretty decent approximation of what I wanted to be able to do. I got to play. I felt a lot better at the game than I had the other times that I tried it. And I really enjoyed my time with it. There are some levels I beef with, and there's some jank that I had, but I'm going to talk about the stuff I enjoyed first. Some levels hit that exact sweet spot of complexity that I like, but it's not too annoying. I did play the game on normal, and for some people that's probably like the coward's way of doing it, but look, I'm here to have a good time. I was coming fresh off of Tomb Raider, and Moonraking kind of fucked me when I tried to do my sneaky side shit, so I just wanted to fucking chill, you know? I kind of could. There was a lot of stuff that I still had to deal with, a lot of map knowledge that I still had to learn. The 2 levels that stand out to me the most are Assassins and the Mage Towers, for different reasons. Assassins is a very straightforward, these dudes whack one of your contacts, so you chase them down and you rob them. You're not 47, you're not going to blow their heads off. You're going to go in there and be like, fuck you, fuck your shit, it's my shit now, and you steal from them. I love that. Garrett is not an assassin, he is a thief. So if you get into a fight, you're probably going to lose. Especially if there's more than one person. I got in a lot of brawls with people where I was whacking them with my blackjack, and any time that a second person entered the fray, I was toast immediately. So Assassins was a very straightforward, like, this is what this fucking game is about, jacking people's shit. And the Mage Towers is bizarrely the same goal, but it's kind of the opposite. There's plot things going on, I'm not going to get into it. Instead of giving you this kind of tight mansion where you just fucking take everything that isn't nailed down, you're hunting specific things. So you go through all these like jungle gyms, you're stealing books to figure out where the fuck things are, and it's just you putting together what is going on by having to get around and not get spotted. There's mages, there's a lot of guards, there's regular people who you can also get in trouble with. It feels like the big level that really works. And contrasting that is the Thieves Guild. Easily the worst quest in the fucking game. It took me an actual hour just on the save file that I beat it on, not including all of my reloads. It's long, it's annoying, it's incredibly hard to navigate. Part of that's probably on me, just because my mental mapping skill is good, but it's not great. And the game's maps are intentionally vague. They're in-character maps, which means that they don't always have the best information. And I love that, because it means When I open the door, I'm not going to be like, here's the room. I pick a door and I'm like, what the fuck is behind here? And sometimes it's bad. I love the way the lockpicks work. It's not like play a mini game. It's a very tense interaction. It's very similar to how hacking works in Deus Ex, where you hold your picks at the door and you fucking rattle the door. And sometimes you get caught when you're trying to do a pick. So you have to be very careful, you have to pay attention, and you have to have like that good execution to make shit really work. I hated Thieves Guild. I thought it was the worst mission in the game by a lot. But my other big problems is the game is jank in a way that's hard to nail down. Because it teaches you how to do certain things. You can hold space to climb, or hold jump. I don't know what you map jump to. I'm not your fucking dad. But when you climb up, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Ladders are kind of annoying in their own way. Sometimes it feels like you do the same dismount and it just doesn't work. But that's kind of the old jank that you're dealing with. The difference between this and Tomb Raider is that I can feel kind of what they were going for. Whereas with Tomb Raider, everything feels like I want to die. I would give Thief a recommend. I think it's much better than the remake, having not played both. Partially because Garrett is like snarky and like kind of a fun character. Whenever you complete objectives, he like gives you his input. But he's not an asshole. In the remake, he's just kind of a fucking piece of shit. And it makes it a little annoying to play the game because he's such a fucking prick. I enjoyed this. I thought this was really fun. And I'm glad it's on here. I'm glad I had a palate cleanser from Tomb Raider. So, I had 1 trash fire and 2 games that have flaws, but I did enjoy. Okay, what do we have next? All right. Let's see what we got.